My name is Emma Reynolds. I'm 22, and I just graduated from Ohio State University with a degree in psychology summa cum laude. But no one in my family seemed to care. I come from Toledo, Ohio, where my parents own a struggling accounting firm and live in a house that always felt more like Claire's castle than our home. Claire is my older sister, 3 years ahead of me. And she's the kind of person who cries when her nail polish chips and gets praised for her emotional depth. I'm the opposite. I get straight A's, hold 2 jobs, and I'm the one they always call independent, like it's a personality flaw. I used to think being strong was enough, that maybe eventually they'd see me. But when my parents skipped the most important day of my life to babysit Claire's broken heart, I realized something I can't unsee. That was the day I stopped being the good daughter and started being something else entirely. The stadium was buzzing, thousands of families cheering, balloons bouncing in the air, and flashes of cameras capturing perfect moments. I stood among the rows of graduates in a sea of deep red gowns, gripping my diploma like it might float away if I let go. I scanned the crowd once more, my eyes locked onto the 3 seats I'd reserved weeks ago, row 17, section C, right behind the railing, still empty. The message from my mom had arrived an hour before the ceremony. Claire had a panic attack. We had to stay. Hope you understand. That was it. No, we're proud of you. No, we wish we could be there. Just a sentence cold as glass, like missing my graduation was an unavoidable errand on a grocery list. The crowd erupted as someone's name was called. Applause, screams, a whole family waving neon signs. I smiled for a classmate's camera, but I could feel my jaw trembling. My name echoed over the speaker system. Emma Reynolds, Bachelor of Science in Psychology. And for a second I hesitated. As I walked across the stage, the lights felt too bright, too hot, and the clapping sounded distant, as if I was underwater. No familiar voices called out, no faces I recognized, just strangers cheering like they were being polite, like I was just one more face in the rotation. I forced a smile as I took the diploma, trying not to look like the only person on stage with no one in the stands. But I was. After the ceremony, I drifted away from the crowds. Parents hugged their kids. Couples kissed. Siblings wrestled playfully in their dress clothes. I walked through it all like a ghost, alone. I asked a girl from my stats class to take a few photos of me. I smiled at them. I really tried, but when I looked back later, even I could see it. My eyes were screaming. I should have gone to dinner with friends. Should have celebrated, but I couldn't. I went back to my apartment instead. I didn't take off the cap and gown right away. I just stood in front of the mirror, staring. The fabric felt heavy, the silence louder than the stadium had been. My phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from Dad. We'll celebrate another day. Claire had a fight with her boyfriend. She's still not okay. You understand that word again? Understand? Like I was built for sacrifice. I sat down on the edge of my bed, gown still on, diploma clutched to my chest like a shield. That night, something in me cracked. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet split, like glass under pressure. I realized I had spent my whole life hoping for their applause, but it was never coming. Not for me. By midnight, I was still sitting there. In the mirror, I looked like a stranger, a girl dressed for someone else's celebration. I stood up, opened my closet, and pulled out the old suitcase I hadn't touched since freshman year. If I had to disappear to be noticed, so be it. I didn't sleep that night. I laid on my bed in my gown until the sun started to rise, bleeding through the thin curtains of my apartment like a quiet dare. Will you still be invisible today? By 6 a.m., my suitcase was packed. I didn't need much, just my laptop, some clothes, my battered notebook filled with half-written thoughts, and the necklace my grandfather gave me when I turned 16. I left the cap and gown hanging on the closet door like a ghost I no longer owed anything to. My apartment lease had 2 weeks left. I could have stayed. But suddenly I couldn't breathe in that space anymore. Not when every corner reminded me of all the nights I stayed up studying, telling myself they'll be proud someday. They weren't. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't tell anyone. Not even Zoe. I just texted her. Gone for a few days. I need air. I knew she'd understand. Or at least wait until I was ready.
She always did.
The drive back to Toledo was quiet. I played a playlist I hadn't touched since high school. Half of the songs reminded me of sitting in the back seat on family road trips, pressed against the window, while Claire chose all the stops. My parents had always told me I was so easygoing, but I wasn't. I just learned early on that saying what I wanted didn't change anything. When I pulled into the driveway of the house I grew up in, nothing had changed. Same porch swing with a broken chain on one side. The same flower bed Mom always insisted she'd replant next season. Same heavy silence behind the front door. I didn't knock. I walked straight in. My keys still worked. The smell hit me first. Coffee, bacon, and that hint of Claire's rose perfume. I heard voices in the kitchen. They were laughing. Less than 24 hours after skipping my graduation. I stood in the hallway for a second, fingers tied around the suitcase handle. Then I walked in. The room froze. My parents were mid-bite. Claire sat in her pastel pink robe, scrolling on her phone like nothing happened.
Emma.
Dad blinked. What are you doing here? I dropped the suitcase next to the fridge. Just came to grab a few things. Mom stood up, already shifting into defense mode. Sweetheart, I know you're upset, but Claire was having a really hard time yesterday. I cut her off. And I wasn't. Claire looked up, her voice soft and weaponized. You don't get it. My anxiety was spiraling. You think I wanted to ruin your day?
You didn't ruin it, I said.
You erased it. Dad sighed. Emma, don't be dramatic. There it was. The classic Reynolds family move: minimizes, dismiss, deflect. I walked that stage alone, I said, voice shaking. I looked into the crowd and saw nothing because you chose her again. Claire leaned back, arms crossed. God, you always make everything about you. I snapped. No, you make everything about you. And Mom and Dad just let you. Mom's voice got tight. Claire needs more support. You've always been strong. You don't fall apart like she does. That's not strength, I said, laughing bitterly. That's silence. That's being trained to survive on crumbs and still say thank you. And then footsteps. Slow, heavy. A new voice, deep and steady. What the hell is going on here? We all turned. Grandpa Walter stood in the doorway, hands in the pockets of his worn beige coat, eyes narrowed like he already knew everything. Nobody moved. Claire's mouth hung open. Mom took a step back. Dad turned pale. But me? I took a step forward. My voice was trembling but clear. Grandpa, I can't take it anymore. If they won't face me, then I'll make them listen. Grandpa Walter didn't speak right away. He stepped into the kitchen, eyes sweeping over the room like a quiet storm, taking in the half-eaten breakfast, the stiff postures, the tension hanging like smoke. He looked at me last and really looked at me, and his face softened just a little. Start talking, he said. I took a shaky breath, then another. This wasn't going to be one of those moments where someone else stepped in to save me. This was mine. I had to say it all, no matter how ugly it sounded. I graduated yesterday, I said, staring straight at my parents. I walked the stage by myself. No one there, no cheers, no photos, just me surrounded by strangers whose families showed up. Mom opened her mouth, but Grandpa raised one hand, palm out. Let her finish. I kept going, voice cracking. All I wanted was for you to show up for once, to put me first. But Claire had a panic attack, and just like always, that was all it took. Claire scoffed. I was sobbing. Emma, do you even care about what I was going through? I care, I said, but not more than I care about myself. And clearly neither of you ever made that choice. Dad's tone went cold. Don't twist this into something it's not. We did what we had to. Claire was fragile. I snapped. Always fragile. Always the one who needed the world to bend around her moods while I was expected to bend around both of you. Silence. I looked at Grandpa. His expression hadn't changed, but something behind his eyes sharpened. You all think being the strong one means I don't break, I said. But yesterday broke me. Claire rolled her eyes. So what? You want us to grovel? It's not like graduation can't be replayed on YouTube. Something in me snapped. You really don't get it, do you? I turned to my mom. 15? That's how old I was when Claire had a meltdown before my birthday. You canceled the dinner reservation and took her shopping to calm her down. Dad frowned.
Emma.
16, I said louder, cutting him off. I won a state science award. You barely looked at it before asking Claire how many likes she got that week. I turned to Grandpa again. This is what it's always been like. Every moment I've worked for minimized. Every accomplishment ignored. But the second she cries, the whole house stops. The kitchen was dead quiet. Grandpa stepped forward, face tight, voice low. Is this true? No one answered. He looked at my parents one at a time. I've been sending you money every month, helping you cover mortgage payments, keeping your little business afloat. You told me things were tough, but you never said the cost was treating my granddaughter like she didn't exist. My mom's hands trembled. Dad, it's not like that. Claire she needed more help. No, he said flatly. You needed help, and I gave it. But I didn't do it so you could use Emma's silence as your excuse. Claire's lip curled. You don't understand. I have anxiety. If I'm not okay, the whole house isn't okay. Grandpa turned to her and his voice dropped into something even colder. Then maybe it's time the house stopped revolving around you. Claire's face twisted, but she said nothing. Then Grandpa turned back to me. Emma, he said, do you want to come live with me?
You deserve better than this.
I blinked. Yes. Yes, I do. That was when Mom's voice cracked. Wait, you're serious, Dad. You can't just take her. What are we supposed to do? You'll manage, he said. You've got your golden child. Dad stepped forward, his voice rising. Walter, think about the business. If you pull out now, you should have thought about that before you pulled out of your daughter's life, Grandpa said, not even looking at him. I grabbed my suitcase from the floor. It felt lighter this time. Grandpa placed a hand on my shoulder. Pack your bags, Emma, he said. I'm taking you home. Grandpa's house in Grand Rapids felt like stepping into another world, one where no one tiptoed around Claire's mood swings or whispered criticisms behind closed doors. It was a modest two-story place with creaky floors and bookshelves that lined the walls like quiet sentinels. The living room smelled like cedar and old paper, and for the first time in years, I could exhale without bracing for someone else's meltdown. He didn't ask questions right away, just helped carry my bag inside, pointed to the guest room, and said, the bed's made. Bathroom's down the hall. Dinner's at 6 if you want it. I did. And I ate more in that one quiet dinner than I had in weeks. Not just food, but comfort. The next few days were strange in their simplicity. I woke up when I wanted, ate breakfast while the sun streamed through the kitchen window, and didn't have to filter my every move through the invisible question, will this upset Claire? One morning, Grandpa slid an envelope across the table. I opened it with shaking hands. My acceptance letter, Michigan State University, Master's Program in Psychology, partial scholarship. I stared at the words, unsure if I was reading them right. I had applied months ago and never expected to get in.
Not really.
Not with everything going on. Grandpa leaned back in his chair, watching me with a steady calm. If that's what you want, I'll cover the rest. I couldn't speak. I just stood up and threw my arms around him, sobbing into the shoulder of his flannel shirt. He didn't say much, he never did, but his hand patted my back gently, like an anchor. I had no words for the way that felt, only the certainty that this right here was the kind of love I had spent my whole life reaching for and never quite catching. I texted Zoe later that day. I got in, starting grad school this fall. Grandpa's helping. I'm okay. She replied immediately. Told you you were never invisible. They just refused to look. But of course, not everyone was ready to let go. The first text came 2 days later. Then another. Then another. All from Mom. We miss you. Please come home. Claire's feeling awful. She didn't mean to hurt you. Don't make Grandpa cut us off. This is tearing us apart. None of them mentioned my graduation or my name. Then Dad chimed in. Emma, we know we were wrong, but family means forgiveness.
Come back.
Claire's not well. And finally, Claire, are you happy now? You ruined everything. Just admit you wanted to make us suffer. I stared at the messages, each one more manipulative than the last. None of them were sorry. Not really. They were just scared of losing the money, the comfort, the illusion of control. I wanted to test something. One last chance to see if they'd ever choose me for real. I typed one sentence and hit send. I'll consider coming home if Claire moves out. She's 25. She has a job. If you want me back, let her live her own life. I knew what that message meant.
So did they.
If they wouldn't draw a boundary with her, then I would. Then I turned my phone over, letting the screen fade to black. Sometimes silence is the loudest truth. The silence stretched for days. No calls, no texts, not even one of Dad's guilt-laced voicemails. It was like my message detonated something. And now they didn't know how to rebuild. A small part of me hoped they were genuinely thinking it over. A bigger part knew better. I threw myself into prep for grad school, bought used textbooks, mapped out housing near Michigan State, even helped Grandpa set up a new router so I'd have decent Wi-Fi in my room. Every morning we had coffee on the back porch. He'd read the paper while I made to-do lists. It was calm, honest, real. And then Claire showed up. I had just finished a seminar orientation at MSU when I saw her. She was standing near the iron gates at the edge of campus, oversized sunglasses covering half her face, arms crossed tight like she was trying to look put together, but barely holding it in. For a second, I thought I was imagining her, but then she stepped forward. Emma, she called out loud enough to draw attention. I stopped cold. Students nearby turned their heads. I felt my chest tighten, my pulse spike. I wanted to walk away, but I was tired of running. What do you want? I asked, keeping my voice level. Claire took off her sunglasses slowly. Her eyes were bloodshot. You set them up, she said. You knew they'd never kick me out. You just wanted to punish us. I blinked. That wasn't a test for them, I said quietly. It was a test for me to see if I was still stupid enough to keep hoping. She stepped closer. You're tearing this family apart. I laughed. It came out sharp, bitter. I'm not the one who tore it apart. I just stopped pretending everything was fine. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, Claire snapped. Everyone expects me to be perfect to keep it all together. No, I interrupted. Everyone expects me to keep it together. You just get to fall apart and let everyone else pick up the pieces. Claire's face twisted. So, you're the victim now. I said, but not anymore. She lunged. One hand grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. I pulled back instinctively. She tried to shove me. I didn't fall. Instead, I pushed her off with both hands firm and fast. She stumbled, catching herself on a bike rack. People around us gasped.
Whoa.
Someone shouted. A few students pulled out phones. Claire's eyes widened. You hit me. I defended myself, I said, voice steady, like I should have done a long time ago. A girl stepped between us. You need to back off, she told Claire. Another guy added, What the hell is wrong with you? You can't attack someone like that. Claire looked around, realizing the crowd wasn't on her side. She froze, chest heaving, lips trembling. I leaned in just close enough for only her to hear. If you ever touch me again, I will call the police. And no one's going to protect you this time. I turned and walked away. My heart was pounding, but I didn't look back. Zoe came jogging up from the library steps, having caught the tail end of it. You good?
She asked.
Better than I've ever been, I said, still shaking but smiling through it. That night after I got home, my phone lit up. It was a message from my parents. We've thought long and hard. We choose Claire. Don't ever come back. I stared at the screen. No more pretending. No more waiting. They didn't break me. They fired me. The morning of my graduate school commencement felt nothing like the one 2 years ago. No dread, no silent tears, no checking my phone, hoping someone might still show up. This time, I knew exactly who would be there. Grandpa Walter sat in the front row of the auditorium, wearing a dark blue suit with a sunflower pinned to his lapel, my favorite flower. Zoe was beside him, holding a poster that read, Emma Reynolds, finally seen. I laughed when I saw it. She shrugged, unapologetic. The announcer's voice echoed through the hall. Emma Reynolds, Master of Science in Psychology. Applause erupted, not polite, scattered claps like before, but real thunderous cheering. I stepped across the stage slowly, my head held high. I wasn't walking for them anymore. Not for Mom, not for Dad, not even for Claire. I was walking for me. When I accepted the diploma, I turned toward the crowd and there he was, Grandpa, standing tall, eyes wet, but proud, clapping with a strength that somehow filled the entire room. For a moment, I let myself absorb it. Not just the applause, but the freedom, the weightlessness of no longer needing to prove my worth to people who never intended to see it. After the ceremony, we took photos outside in the crisp Michigan air. Zoe made me do a silly jumping pose. Grandpa handed me the sunflowers, his voice quiet but steady. You flew higher than any of them ever thought you could. I only made it because you gave me a place to take off from, I said. He smiled, but there was something heavy in his gaze, like he wished he'd seen the truth sooner.
I didn't need him to say it.
He'd shown me in every quiet act, every morning cup of coffee, every time he called me by my name like it meant something. Back at his house that evening, we sat on the porch like we always did, the sky streaked with gold and lavender. He poured us each a glass of iced tea. Zoe was inside blasting music and reheating leftovers. I heard the Carter house went up for sale, Grandpa said suddenly. Their business folded last fall. Bankruptcy hit hard. I know, I said. Someone from our old neighborhood sent me a photo, for sale sign right in the front yard. Claire's still posting cryptic things on social media. Last I checked, she moved into a tiny apartment downtown. No makeup tutorials lately. He looked at me for a long moment.
How do you feel about that?
I thought about it. Not happy, not sad either, just fair. It feels fair. He nodded. That's all we can ask for sometimes. Not revenge, just balance. I leaned back in the chair, watching the stars start to blink awake in the sky. You know, I said softly, I used to think love was something you earned, that if I was good enough, patient enough, they'd finally give it.
They didn't, Grandpa said. No, I said.
But you did. The breeze was light, the kind that doesn't ask you to brace for it. I didn't hear from my parents again. Not after the final message. I never answered it. I never needed to. Some people will never love you the way you deserve. And that's not your fault. It's their limitation. And sometimes walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. I didn't lose a family. I found myself.